Booktube, welcome back to my channel. Sean the Book Maniac does a tag called Page 112 tag. The idea behind the tag is that books are heavily edited in the first few pages because that's where, if you're trying to decide about a book, that's where you're going to read. If you're submitting a book to a book prize to be judged, those are the first few pages that the judges will read and make a decision on whether the book is worthy of their consideration or not. So the first few pages of a book are usually well edited, carefully guarded to make sure that nothing slips by. But by the time you get to page 100, or in this case page 112, sometimes the author's words are very close to how they were written in the original manuscript. So if you want to judge a book by the author's writing and not just the quality of the editing, skip to page 112 and kind of figure out whether the book is written well or just well edited. Sean's tag is to compare 3 books and see which of the 3 books you prefer based on page 112. I've done the tag before where I've taken 3 memoirs and compared them, and I like the results that I got. Today I'm going to take 3 novels that are set in different parts of the world and make a comparison. Because I'm reading the Man Booker Prize winning books now, 2 of the books are going to be Man Booker books and 1 is going to be something else. And I'm going to ask you to tell me which of the 3 books is not a Man Booker book. Which of these 3 books do you think is not necessarily a prize winning book? That should be interesting. So I'm going to read the books and you're not going to know what I'm reading. Page 112 in book 1. I haven't read them yet either. So page 112, whoa, okay. The first paragraph on page 112 starts with an expletive, so I'm going to skip that first line. It says, "Come and visit Uptown sometime, Bijou Man." Saeed quickly found employment at a Banana Republic, where he would sell to urban sophisticates the black turtleneck of the season, in a shop whose name was synonymous with colonial exploitation and the rapacious ruin of the third world. Bijou knew he probably wouldn't see him again. This was what happened, he had learned by now. You lived intensely with others, only to have them disappear overnight, since the shadow class was condemned to movement. The men left for other jobs. Towns got deported, returned home, changed names. Sometimes someone came popping around a corner again, or on the subway, then they vanished again. Addresses, phone numbers did not hold. The emptiness Bijou felt returned to him over and over, until eventually he made sure not to let friendship sink deep anymore. Lying on his basement shelf that night, he thought of his village where he had lived with his grandmother on the money his father sent each month. The village was buried in silver grasses that were taller than a man and made a sound, shoo-shoo, shoo-shoo, as the wind turned them this way and that. Down a dry gully through the grasses, you reach a tributary of the Jamuna where you could watch men traveling downstream on inflated buffalo skins, the creatures' very dead legs, all 4, sticking straight up as they sailed along. And where the river scalloped shallow over the stones, they got out and dragged their buffalo skin boats over. Here, at this shallow place, Bijou and his grandmother would cross on market trips into town and back. His grandmother with her sari tucked up, sometimes a sack of rice on her head. Fishing eagles hovered above the water, changed their horizontal glide within a single moment, plunged, rose sometimes with a thrashing muscle of silver. A hermit also lived on this bank, positioned like a stork, waiting, oh waiting, for the glint of another, an elusive mystical fish. When it surfaced, he must pounce, lest it be lost again and never return. That is page 112 of book 1. Ready for book 2? Page 112 of book 2 goes a little something like this. "But then where should she die? You see our problem," he said again. "There has been no addition to the hospital for over 20 years. We don't have beds, we don't have staff or equipment." He went on. It was a long list of difficulties. Again, I saw that he liked talking to me. Partly to practice his English. That motive may have been there, but also to have someone to whom he could in this way unburden himself. You saw the type of patients we have, and then also we make mistakes on our side. How is it to be avoided? I would like to have more staff. I make applications in triplicate. I go to see the minister. At last, when I get the staff, they're often useless people. His English was fluent and he expressed himself well. He had a lot to express. His feelings were deep and his life difficult. He looked at me across the desk with the same eyes as Inder Lal's, craving understanding. What I understood best was that the problem of the beggar woman, if I wished to undertake it, was now mine. Everyone else had too many problems of their own. I thought what to do. Perhaps she could still be treated, and on that chance, I had to get her to the hospital. I could hire a cycle rickshaw or a horse carriage to take her there. Then I thought how to get her into a vehicle. I would have to lift her by myself, for I could not expect anyone else to take the risk of touching her. Also, I was not at all sure whether I could persuade any carriage owner to take her. I made my way from Dr. Gopal's office through the crowded hospital corridors. I kept having to step over patients lying on the floor. Then where should she die? I had asked Dr. Gopal. It had seemed a forceful question to me at the time, but now it was no longer so. Now a new thought, a new word presented itself to me, and it was this, that the old woman was dispensable. That's page 112 of book number 2. Ready for book 3? Book 3 says, across the room the Buddhas smiled knowingly. The lantern's golden light had a feeble, sickly cast compared with the vibrant snow outside. The room felt small and close. Spicy incense flooded Hiro's nose as he closed the door. He exhaled sharply, but it didn't help. Kenshin opened his eyes as the door rattled shut. His features darkened in alarm. Has something happened? He jumped to his feet. Shokai stammered, paused, and shut the sutra book. Father Mateo raised his hands. There is no emergency. However, we hope to speak with you alone. Hiro cast a meaningful glance at Shokai. The young priest clutched the book of sutras to his chest. Kenshin studied Hiro's face. Of course. Shokai, we will stand in the doorway as you return to the meditation hall. That way, if you encounter trouble, we will hear you call. Shokai stood abruptly, bowed to Kenshin and the Buddhas, and left the annex. Kenshin followed the younger man to the door. We apologize for disturbing your prayers, Father Mateo said. The physician watched Shokai disappear into the snow, then slowly closed the wooden door and turned to face them once again. Kenshin considered the corpses. I sincerely hope they do not need the rituals, although we will perform them anyway. Do not need them? The Jesuit echoed. I was being polite. Kenshin shifted awkwardly. I respect that your beliefs are different. Not so different, truly, Father Mateo smiled. God judges souls at the moment of death, not over time. But in your doctrine, how does a soul earn entry into heaven? Hiro stifled a sigh. The Jesuit took any chance to talk about religion, regardless of the gods in question. More importantly, Gato was still missing and a killer moving freely through the halls of Mio Inn. The wind wailed louder. Shutters rattled. Chill ran up Hiro's spine. That's it. That is book 1, book 2, book 3. Page 112 of each one of those books. Tell me which of these 3 books is not a prize-winning book. If you said book number 1, you would be wrong because this is Inheritance of Loss by Kieran Desai. This won the Man Booker Prize in 2000 and something. In 2006, this is a 2006 Man Booker Prize winning book. This is the book about this is the book that started with the expletives that I couldn't say. This is about the man who works in the Banana Republic, and he's talking about what Banana Republic means. We didn't get too much more from this story, right? There was a lot of description. Didn't quite love that part. I could tell that it was it was leading into a bigger story. The Inheritance of Loss takes place in the Himalayas and I think New York City. It's about a man who's a judge and his son dies, leaving a daughter, and the granddaughter comes to live with him, and about the intersection of these 2 different generations and how they cope with this shared loss that they're experiencing so differently. I had hoped that I would love this writing. I'm still hoping to love this writing, but I haven't read this one yet, as you can see. And that page didn't wow me as much as I had hoped it would. Book number 2 is another Man Booker Prize winning book. It is Heat and Dust by Ruth Prower Jabvala, and this is about an English woman who's married but having an extramarital affair with an Indian prince. And I think the book is supposed to be a discussion about how maybe the compromises that she has to make in order to have this relationship and the effect that it has on her husband and of course on her own experiences. Page 112 I thought was the strongest of the 3. I really liked how well the author brought us into that hospital scene where this woman wants to help this beggar woman, but she's afraid to ask someone for help. She's afraid that by asking someone for help, she will be a hindrance to their life. If the beggar woman has some disease, that she will transfer it to that person who's helping. And I thought that that was so interesting. Like, I want to know why she's concerned about her own well-being. So I thought that that scene was very rich, very well described. That was Heat and Dust. And so the next book is the book that is not a prize-winning book. I actually just got this book in order to review, and it's called Trial on Mount Koya, a Hiro Hattori novel, Shinobi mystery, and it's by Susan Span. I just got this one in the mail yesterday, so I haven't really gone through it yet. But it takes place in the 1500s. It's about the intersection between these Buddhists and Jesuits happening at a Buddhist temple at the summit of Mount Koya. I thought that that was also a well-written page, except comparing Mount Koya to the writing in this one especially, you could tell that this is not as strong as this one. The back and forth dialogue between the characters is at times a little bit awkward and not as descriptive as this one. So of the three, my favorite is this. If I had to choose just one of these three books to read next, it would be this one. And that might be what I do. So that's the page 112 tag, Man Booker Style. I hope I threw you off sufficiently. That's what I wanted to do. I chose this book specifically for its setting because I wanted the interaction between the Jesuits and the Buddhists to kind of bring you into the setting that is characteristic of a lot of the Man Booker Prize-winning books. A lot of them talk about religion and social and political issues, and I thought that this would be similar to these. The fact that it had a very similar Asian setting meant that these are three similar books, and I wanted to give you a red herring. So let me know if it worked. Let me know if you played along and if you were able to guess which of the three books was not a Man Booker Prize winner. We'll do this tag again if you are interested. So thanks for watching. Leave me a comment down below. We'll talk down there. And until next time, happy reading. Bye.